Hola Bandidos, welcome to Mel's Magic. This is episode 13 of season 3 y estamos a 30 de abril 2022. 30th of March. Gosh, I get muddled. In any case, it's seriously springtime and I don't know how it happened. Here in Costa Blanca, Spain, we've had a weird, we call it gota fria, a kind of long-lasting storm for 2 weeks, non-stop rain. It was pretty unusual, given the usual sunny weather here. So it's bizarre because for some reason it coincided, this stormy weather coincided with a lot of purging and internal storms on my end. Not sure about you guys, but yeah, March has been difficult. A lot of shadow aspects that I thought I had already dealt with surfaced again and really put me in the ringer. And I really had to ask myself, okay, we know these patterns, we know these thoughts, we know this familiar feeling of self-pity, woe is me, negative thinking that kind of encroaches on you and makes you contracted together with fear and just restricts you and makes you just feel awful. And with a tempting powerlessness, at least in my case, always, where you're just like, right, I thought I've done all this work. I thought I'm done with this. Why am I feeling like this again? What is it? And I've only come to understand that, I mean, honestly, it's such an ongoing process now. I've only come to understand that this just will never end. This healing process, this journey of transformation, this journey of becoming whole, of reclaiming all of these soul fragments that we've lost and splintered into along the way. Reclaiming these fragments is a constant process, and it's not a taking one step, then the next step, and the next step kind of thing, but more like a spiral, especially a spiral with plateaus. And similar triggers come up about similar situations, and I feel it actually happens so that we can prove, so to speak, or we can put to the test what we've learned since the last time we've come across the same situation, which makes it frustrating. I mean, not knowing that the same situation, you face similar situations just to see how you now respond rather than react. I didn't know that before, so I initially thought, oh my God, I've done all the work and I'm back to square one. No es así. You're not actually back to square one. You're just encountering the same situation, but you're on a different point of that upward spiral of evolution. And it was really the case where I felt, okay, I'm encountering a similar ominous, limiting pattern, but I'm aware of it. Eso es número uno. At least I'm very proud of myself that I was aware of it. I was aware of what was happening. And there was quite a lot of, let's call it pressure, because I told myself, well, you know what this is, so there's no excuse in recoiling back to the self-pity pit. You actually have tools to deal with this now, but are you going to use them? Are you going to put into practice everything you've learned, everything you've absorbed, everything you've researched, everything you've claimed, maybe conceptually in terms of knowledge, all this accumulated knowledge? Are you actually putting it to practice now? I also told myself, you know what, at the end of the day, ça sert à rien. No sirve para nada toda esta teoría, all this theory, if I don't apply it to my everyday life. At least for myself, I don't plan to be a recluse, a hermit on a mountain and separate myself from society. I respect that I sometimes need to step out of maybe social circles so that I can recharge. I respect that, and I can be the hermit in that sense. But my intention is to actually be an active, contributing member of a new society, a new way of being. And I respect and honor the fact that relationships are just essential. Everything in our lives have to do with relationships, primarily the relationship with ourselves, the relationship, simple things, everyday, day-to-day things, relationship to food we eat, your pet, your family members, your partners, your friends, your community. We may think like, okay, I can do without people. That's not the truth. I mean, even the postman, even, maybe people we usually overlook, we depend on people, and we might as well just accept that and operate in such a way that we come from a more wholesome or unity consciousness, where we are aware that everything is interrelated, everything is connected, and that we cannot be egotistical in the sense of just taking and hoarding it all to myself, but give and take, again, this flow of relationships, that we need to nurture our relationships, our relationship with ourselves and with other people. So I lost my point there, lost my thread a little bit, but oh yes, it comes back, pulling it back to what I said in the beginning. March has been just strange in terms of resurfacing old fragments from the subconscious that want to be integrated, that want to be held in awareness and love, and then integrated. That's the whole point of this shadow work, to really, and reclaiming these splintered fragments of our soul, to really hold them in a space of loving awareness and shed the light of our consciousness onto these parts and say, you're okay, you're allowed to be here, but you're no longer dominating me. I'm choosing to lovingly hold you and act from a higher consciousness, a more loving consciousness. Not shunning these shadow aspects, these negative, whatever they are, thought patterns or behaviors or habits we may have accumulated along the years. Not repressing them or shunning them or judging them, but releasing them, allowing them to move through us, these old emotions, and releasing them if need be, even with love. Say, hey, I know you were part of me for such a long time, and I know I've identified with you for such a long time, and you've served maybe a purpose back in the day when I was in survival mode, maybe a kind of defensive armoring around the heart. It served a purpose, but actually now it's becoming a blockage. It's preventing me from connecting to myself and to others. So, dear old pattern, dear old emotion, I'm releasing you, and I respect you and thank you for being there in the past, but I no longer am attached to you. That's what I found is actually the only way to deal with these inner conflicts, when there's this push and pull between old and new self. There were many moments in the past month where I literally fought myself again, where I was like in resistance of what was happening. So on top of the internal conflict, I was judging myself and I was resisting, I was shunning, I was trying to get away. I was trying to change this state of being. I was frustrated until I kind of threw the swords again and said, basta, no puedo. Might as well just let go and accept it, flow with it. And that's actually, what we resist persists. But once you let go of the reins and just accept it and allow for some space, then it actually dissolves on its own. If you sit with it, conflicting feelings or pain that comes up maybe from the past, if you sit with it, I've experienced, then it actually dissolves. It takes courage though and patience, and I'm not I think I'm courageous, but I'm not sure about patience. I'm working on that one. But instead of escaping myself and with all kinds of escape tactics, distraction, rumination, I don't know, drinking, whatever. Instead of doing that, just sitting with it and facing it head on is ultimately what makes it dissolve and makes it lighter, because you create space for it. You allow it to be there. You accept it. Acceptance, that's the thing. I was struggling with acceptance over the past month. And in any case, yesterday, I felt this huge shift in energy, something lifted. And it's ironic because yesterday, now it's cloudy again, but yesterday the sun came out after 2 weeks, constant rain. So I was like, synchronicity. Or, is it a coincidence? Or no, not a coincidence. My words today. Finn, what I have realized though, and I'm super proud of, what happened over the past month, I have become better in not beating myself up, if that makes sense. So whereas before, and I do feel that's a huge part of the depressive dynamic, intrapsychic dynamic, the fact that we judge and we punish ourselves on top of the internal conflict. It's like a double arrow. So before, for example, I used to feel conflicting feelings or negative emotions, and I would literally beat myself up for it. I would not allow it. I would not accept it. So I've realized over the past week that I'm able to conjure up much more compassion for myself, which is huge, huge and essential. I even pulled a card the other day from the Sacred Power deck. Et voila, it's compassion. Look at her. Beautiful, nice Kuan Yin. And at the end of the day, without compassion, it's nearly impossible to get out of these internal wars and conflicts and stuckness. It's impossible to... The next step, it would be love. What is love if it doesn't involve compassion? Compassion meaning con pasión, sitting with the pain, sitting with, because passion per se is not necessarily romantic, but it's an energy of heightened emotion, of pain also. So do you have compassion? Are you able to sit with your passion, with your pain, with your tumultuous emotions? If you're able to do that, then you're able to love. Because love involves compassion, acceptance, accepting rather than rejecting or judging. So having compassion when we are in the midst of internal turmoil is huge and essential. I'll show you the cards I pulled for today because they're definitely meaningful. We have from the main Rider-Waite deck, Death. And death, as you may know, in the tarot does not necessarily mean literal death, but it's more on a metaphorical level. It means, death goes hand in hand with life. Death is part of transformation, part of a combustion, of a transition. So death is actually a positive card because it means metamorphosis. It means transformation. And the entire notion of alchemy, if you look into esoteric scripts and alchemy, the transmutation of heavy emotions into lighter states of being involve death. And I very much feel over the past few months, as you may have seen in my readings, now I've been going back and forth between the world, the new cycle, and death, and how it's a bit of a dance between yin and yang, light and shadow. It's not a clear-cut step usually. It's more like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 3 steps forward, 1 step back. As long as there's always as long as the tendency, the general rhythm is towards expansion, which is love, which is a form of ascension and transmutation into lighter state of beings, as long as there is a predominant tendency towards expansion rather than contraction, which is fear, then our process of death and transformation is heading in the right direction. Because what we really want to let go of are these patterns that hold us back and that restrict us and that impede our freedom. If we think about becoming conscious and making conscious choices and truly claiming our freedom, we cannot make real choices if we are bound by our shadow parts, by our old traumas, by our old patterns, by our past stuck emotions. There's no real free choice there, free will, because the shadow is manipulating us just outside of our awareness. But once we shed light on these aspects, integrate them, and release old emotions, then we can rise, literally. So, don't fear death. Don't fear your own transformation. Have compassion when you are in the storm of your emotional conflict. Find tools. Tools are so essential. I mean, I also found that there's an innumerable variety of spiritual tools, self-help tools, self-growth tools. I mean, it's a kind of, you have to try things out. It's like finding the right pair of shoes. What fits you and what doesn't, what serves you, what doesn't, what is good for your lifestyle, your personality, your needs, and then use those tools. Have a spiritual toolbox or a first aid kit, alchemical box. So if you're in the midst of it, like I was, I decided to still do the meditations, to still journal, to still do my dream analysis, to actually engage in deep coaching, to reach out for support. That's another thing, part of the toolbox, is to be humble enough and reach out for support. This having the humility that we don't have to do it on our own. And that support can be literally your community, mentors, people you trust, friends you trust. And also, I'm learning now, it's a whole new topic, but the angelic realm, our spirit guides, I'm really nurturing and building this connection, and it works. It gives you so much. I feel like I can just breathe out and relax more because I don't feel alone anymore. I love myself enough to reach out for support and claim that support and receive that love and support and build these connections. And it makes me feel held, not struggling on my own, not biting my own tail and not banging my head against the wall on my own. It's so essential. So you don't have to go through this transformation on your own. There's tools and there's a support system out there, but you have to find it. And if you put that intention out there, law of attraction, the universe is always there. It's just waiting for us to ask so we can receive. Ask and you will receive. Jesus said it, no? Hay que pedir. And all the support is there. I mean, I also found out that apparently our spirit guides and angels, they're just waiting. They cannot interfere because we have free will, but if we ask and invoke with pure intentions, they're just there on the other side of the line waiting to get into action. So, death card in the middle of a transformation. I'm loving it, letting go. And from the little wild unknown pocket tarot, kind of goes well with my poncho, is the Six of Pentacles, which is, I had to look it up, it's all about prosperity, growth, and generosity. Abundance is ahead, a bountiful time is ahead. And this card can also signify generosity coming from someone else. If this is the case, accept the help with grace and put the resources to good use. Again, ask and you will receive. Accept the support also. It's a huge thing for some to really accept support, that it's okay, that we deserve it. And I was thinking about this notion of grace also, gracia, no? What does it mean to be graceful or to live in grace. And grace is linked with gratitude. So part of my practice is also, which is part of creating abundance, is to appreciate and to live in gratitude for everything. I start my day being conscious and connecting and just think about all the things I can be grateful for. Not about the things that are still missing or are still pending or out of reach. No. What is it right here, right now that I can be grateful for? And there's so many things. So many things. Physical, metaphorical, even about yourself. So many things to appreciate. And that invokes grace. Appreciation invokes grace. And grace creates abundance. Like this bush here. It's a natural bush, but it has little coins growing. So what are we doing in our daily lives to invoke grace and to open ourselves to abundance? What is required to appreciate, to manifest abundance? It's definitely an attitude of gratitude, no? And from the... Ay, se me olvidó el nombre. I'll show it in the comments box. From the Oracle deck, I pulled, I don't know if you can see it properly, the higher power. There's a face here, spirit face, hardly recognizable. But yeah, like a spirit, no? Higher power. And, you know, we often think that it's the ego, no? We think that we're cut off, we're separated, we have to do everything on our own. Pero no es así. The higher power, whatever you want to call it, God, the universe, Allah, the higher power is there, is us, is in us, and is longing for our willingness to connect. And again, it takes off this pressure of having to do things on my own. If I feel and know that I'm being guided, I'm being protected, I am being nurtured with a loving energy from all these frequencies and beings and source, it takes off so much weight, so much pressure. It puts a spring back into my walk. It makes me smile again. Porque, you know, if I'm too much in my head, I start to frown. These two wrinkles get really big. And I'm like, Melanie, you're in the mind, you're in the head too much. Relájate, smile, reach out, breathe. Another huge thing I'm getting into now, breathing, so essential. Breathe, exhale, reach out, say a prayer, invoke the higher power, ask for guidance, and believe and trust that is given to you. It's our birthright. Takes off a lot of pressure and burden and weight. So, relationship with ourselves involves relationship with a higher power. And I've said it before, the good energies require our nurturing, our active nurturing. It's the negative emotions and thoughts that kind of loop on their own. You kind of, you know, you just kind of throw the, ¿cómo se llama? The Kreisel auf Deutsch. Bueno, my metaphors today suck. But anyway, one negative thought can loop on its own in your head over and over. You don't need to do much. But positivity, lightness, trust, faith requires input and nurturing, requires our active engagement, compassion, grounding ourselves, getting out of the head requires mindfulness, awareness, and practice. It's all about implementing. There's no use for me to talk about anything. I don't even like the word spiritual if I cannot put it into practice. And I'm very much this month telling myself, I want to be here. I will recharge myself and recoil and be a hermit if I need to recharge my batteries, but I want to implement everything, this presence, the breathing, listening to my intuition, really listening to life in my everyday encounters, right here, right now. Not in some higher realm, here, 3D. At the same time, if I'm stuck or struggle, I will ask for help and I will trust that I'm being guided. Makes life easier. I want to believe that. I want to trust that. In my experience, it works. It's getting really long. Y con esto, Bandidos, I hope you're well. I hope you create rituals in your daily life that allow for spaciousness and presence and breathing. I hope you go out there and search for the tools that help you in particular, that fit you in your life and your character, and that you keep on believing, and that it's never going back to square one, that we're actually always moving forward. Sometimes we just hit plateaus, and that's normal. Accept them. Create space for compassion, self-compassion. Use your tools and reach out to a support network. Find and ask, and you will receive it. ¿Vale? Y con esto, I wish you a beautiful end of March 2022. Owl and I say hello, and les mandamos un super abrazo desde Javier. Okay, lots of love. Oh, and please, if you're new on my channel, please subscribe if my message resonates with you. I put out videos regularly, and I combine them with my card and energy readings and basing everything on my own stories and experiences. So if you enjoy my videos, please subscribe and please hit the like button and share with friends and family. Okay? Okay, lots of love.